The TV show From on MGM Plus is compared to many different other creations, like different TV shows, etc. But the one that comes up the most is definitely Lost. It's not only because the creators of those TV shows are pretty much similar. Jack Bender used to direct episodes on Lost and now he is the main director on From. Jeff Pinkner is one of the authors behind From and he briefly worked on some of the episodes in Lost. I think the main reason is both of those TV shows are creating a very similar experience for the viewer. We are completely engaged, we cannot even move our eyes when we watch this TV show, we really have to know what the hell is going on, and simultaneously, after so many episodes, we have no clue what the hell is even going on in those TV shows. But there is also a very substantial difference. Lost obviously had a way higher budget, which allowed them to film not only in one location, but in many different locations and show us the origin story of every major character, which basically also helped them to explain and emphasize why those people eventually ended up on the island. So in From, we don't have this possibility. Obviously, it's way more limited, but we still have a couple of backstories on almost every major character. And this is why I thought to myself, maybe this is also important. Maybe knowing who our characters were before they arrived to Fromville will help us to see some patterns, and maybe will give us some clues in order for us to understand this TV show and its lore a little bit better. So I want to invite you all to join me in this video. We're gonna go through every character and what we know about them, and since in episode 6 we got some information, in episode 7 we got some information about Kenny, I want to start with him.
What did you do before you got here?
Okay, I worked in youth sports.
You were a coach?
No, I was an administrator.
Coach Kenny! I like it.
No, stop.
So I don't think there's any importance him being an administrator in youth coach, probably not. We're gonna remember that obviously, but so far I don't see anything to grab on as a clue.
You know, he used to make me play for hours when I was a kid, and I hated it.
Really?
But one night, he wanders out of the house. He took the bus all the way to the city.
The important thing is you found him, right?
On the drive home, I kept thinking, we got a second chance now, to do things right.
Then you saw the tree.
And then we saw the tree.
But it's really important to the next part of my video to remember that Kenny was talking about feeling hopeful. He lost his father has a dementia, it's evolving, etc. and he left the house, so he was looking for him with Tianqian, and when he found him, he felt like, yes, finally it's gonna get better. So he was full with hope, and the reason why I'm emphasizing this is because Abby in season 2 told Boyd that this place doesn't feed on suffering, it feeds on human hope. So one of the main topics that we're gonna focus today is obviously hope.
It wants you to fight. It wants you to have hope that you could actually win.
Why?
Because hope is what makes you willing to suffer. Hope is what sent you out into the woods that day. Hope is what made you leave me alone when I needed you the most. It's not your fear that feeds the forest boy. It's hope.
You know, I wasn't even supposed to be driving that day. I took that job to pay for my degree. Last month, I finally paid off my tuition. I was all set to hand in my notice, and I thought, why not stay a few extra weeks? Put aside something extra so I can treat myself, take a little trip, and celebrate. I deserve a little reward, right?
We see something very similar with Bhakta here, right? She's talking about finally finishing paying off her student loans, which in United States is basically something that only Superman can do. So kudos to her, and we are so happy for her even though she's right now in Fromville. But once again, we see this theme repeating itself. There is the change in life, there is hope, something new is coming. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably experienced something like this. When something new is happening in our life, when there is a big change, we usually filled with hope. Most of the times, right? It's got a new job, I finished paying off student loans, I'm gonna look for a new job, I'm not gonna have to drive the bus anymore. So you are in expectation for something better in your life. You are full with hope. So we are seeing this continuation here with the same theme. I still don't see anything else but that, like there's this threshold in life, which is also pretty important in From, and there is also hope. So meanwhile, let's single out those two things, hope and a threshold moment.
It's an old nursery rhyme. My grandmother used to sing it to me. They touch, they break, they steal. No one here is free. Here they come for three, unless you stop the melody.
Another thing we get to know about Bhakta is that her grandma used to sing her the lullaby from, which is they come for free unless you stop the melody, no one here is free, blah 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 blah. So probably not related to hope or any other topic, it's related to the main lore of this place. And as far as we know already from Julie's words, this is obviously speculation on her part, but maybe she's right, that this place, Fromville, is basically can extend its claws and somehow get to the real world. And this is maybe how we actually got some African mythology here in this place. Like we do have the bottle tree, which is obviously from the hoodoo magic. So this is also somehow related. Probably doesn't really get us closer to the biggest answers, but still something that we definitely gonna have to remember.
I go see her every weekend. I was never all that religious, but it always made her happy. Me going to church with her, and afterwards we spend the afternoon.
I don't know if there's any hope here or anything we can actually grab on as a clue, right? He was probably on his way to meet his grandma, to spend some time with her. You know, you can be full with hope, you know, you want to visit a parent or a grandparent that you didn't see for a while, or you see every week and it's a very happy event for you. Yeah, probably not that crucial, like, you know, finding a new job, but it does feel like a reach, if I'm gonna put it in the hope category, right? So meanwhile, we can maybe just discount as he is not one of the main characters. With Randall's backstory, we have something very similar.
You're pretty good with that thing.
Supposed to be for my nephew's birthday. Figured I'd get my money's worth.
Like the only thing that we know about Randall, that he was on his way to meet his brother and meet his nephew, and this is why he had this gift. Now, once again, this is a complete reach from my part. Maybe we're never gonna get an explanation what was actually going on with Randall in the bus, where he was going, but judging by his character, Randall is a person who likes to burn all the bridges. And he's not somebody who gets along with people, right? He's very easily shutting down people. And like, once again, this is a reach on my part. I can be completely wrong here in this situation, but it does feel like it's some kind of like a makeup gift. Maybe he had a fallout with his brother and his family, and now he has a chance to make things right. This is why he's bringing this gift. And you know, a drone, a DJI drone, is a pretty expensive gift. Now, there is another character that doesn't necessarily fit the pattern, but it's not because we don't know anything about her. It's because we know something about her, but not what happened with her while she was actually reaching this place.
I didn't come to the US until I was 11. I grew up in a small village in Iran with my parents and two older brothers. My father, he was a very outspoken cleric, which wasn't always the most popular thing to be at the time. It was my birthday, actually. We were getting ready to go see my uncle. These men showed up. They were angry, shouting. I remember my mother told me to hide. I was so confused because we were just laughing. My father had told this story about, he was a really good storyteller. I think that's what made him such an effective preacher. Anyway, I could tell my mother was afraid. My brothers had run to the door and now they were shouting too. And my mother just kept saying, hide, hide. I just stood there. I couldn't move. It was all so strange. I mean, we were just laughing so hard, you know? It's gonna be the best birthday ever. The sun was so bright coming in through the door that my father became a silhouette when they dragged him outside. And then there was this pop, like a firecracker, and the silhouette fell down.
And I'm of course talking about Fatima. I mean, we know pretty much a lot about her. She was living in Iran for the first part of her life, Persia. And then her father was killed by, you know, the people that probably, I'm not gonna go political here, but everybody knows what kind of people we're talking here about, because her father was a cleric, pretty much a very outspoken cleric that was not emphasized only in one religion, and he was telling stories about Indian religion, he was talking stories about Islam, he was telling stories from Jewish religion. This is something that probably got him killed, and eventually they needed to escape this place and move on to United States.
There are always going to be monsters in the world. It doesn't matter where you are.
Now those words, Fatima's words about understanding that this world is basically full with monsters. Some of them just look and talk and behave like human beings. And this is why she's not really losing anything in this place until, you know, until the baby. This is what basically broke her. But we know that her whole essence, like her character, is hope against whatever is going to be thrown at her face, right? No matter what's going to happen, I'm still going to be happy. I'm still going to be looking at the sky and thinking to myself,
If you climb high enough, then a nightmare can look like a dream.
Another character that I'm going to have to reach a little bit here is obviously Tilly, and we know that she was in the bus. She was diagnosed with cancer, something that already untreatable, and she was on her way somewhere probably, right? So once again, she accepted the fact that her death is not going to be a final step. So maybe once again, I know for a lot of people it's going to sound like a reach, but I do see hope here, right? When you know that there is no escaping death already, and you accept the fact for yourself that there is something else after death, I wouldn't call this person hopeless, right? This is sound to me quite the opposite. This is a person who is full with hope. So I don't know, there are still some theories that maybe Tilly is somehow connected to the Man in Yellow, maybe she was just an inside mole, etc, etc, etc. But let's base this video only on the things that we actually have seen and heard. Tilly said that she was terminally ill, she gave her morphine in case, you know, somebody else needed this, and she was just still full with hope, still very energetic, still very enjoying life. So yeah, I wouldn't call her losing hope. I would say that she was also a very good battery for this place in case it actually feeds on hope. So look, we have characters like Bacta and Randall and Marielle and Elgin, right? They're not the main characters. They're secondary characters. We have the main characters like Boyd and Matthews, obviously, Donna, even Kristi, etc. So with characters like Bacta and the rest of them, I can allow myself do some reaches. Like I can see maybe in their backstory something hope related, something threshold related, but it's just they didn't have a chance to actually tell it to us, right? But with characters like Kristi and Donna, this is already a little bit more suspicious when they don't have this hope or threshold moment in life when they arrive to from it.
Well, because I have somebody at home. At least I think she's still waiting.
What's her name?
Marielle.
Were you married?
Engaged.
We were supposed to have lunch. I was on my way to meet you. We were supposed to have lunch.
Yeah, with Kristi, we can basically explain it like she was about to get married, right? And she was on her way to meet Marielle, I think, and they were supposed to discuss the engagement, etc, etc, etc. So yeah, this is a threshold moment, getting married, obviously. You are filled with hope that you're gonna spend your rest of your life with this only one person. So yeah, I can see it here. But then how did it work for Marielle? She was just on her way to probably the clinic, right? So she was hoping that she will be able to recover from her addiction. Once again, another hope theme. But let's talk about Donna now.
Me and her, we were on a little hunting trip when we saw that goddamn tree in the road. Everyone sees the tree. It was right before sunset. It was already dark when we got here. Saw some folks in the road, drove right by. Second time through, one of them stood in front of the car, wouldn't get out of the way. She grabbed her shotgun and got out of the car, and then it ripped her face off right in front of me. Ripped it clean off. Started skinning her with his hands in the street, just like we used to skin those deer. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. I just froze. And then I saw another one coming toward the car, and that's when I ran. So I found a place to hide. And there I was, crouching in those bushes. I realized I could still hear my sister screaming. They weren't just killing her, they were torturing her.
There's so many theories about Donna being somehow an inside mole. She's the witch. She's Eloise, actually. Or I don't know. She's Miranda. There are crazy theories. There are interesting theories. There are logical theories. But when I was actually doing my video about who do I suspect more about being an inside man or inside woman in this TV show, when we were analyzing season 2, you know, when Randall said how you can be sure that if it's an experiment, nobody here is actually an inside man. So kind of I was thinking about Donna, because think about this. Every character, even without me reaching, especially the main ones, have something very important connected to hope. And if you don't agree with me yet after this part of the video, let's bring out the big guns. And of course, I'm talking about Jade.
I've done a fuck ton of drugs. I know what hallucinations feel like. This was different. It was here. And then it wasn't. I have a pretty healthy imagination, okay? I mean, I built a software company based on nothing but imagination. I don't know what you did before you got here, but I just sold a company for an obscene amount of money based on a quantum computing algorithm with a potential.
So yeah, he made a huge company, he sold it for an obscene amount of money, and once again, this is a threshold moment in your life. I mean, I never sold the company for millions and millions of dollars. I actually never sold the company even for $10. But if I would, it would probably mean I'm gonna take some time to myself and my family, we're gonna see the world, we're gonna do whatever, I don't know, whatever this is, but the next year we're just gonna live for ourselves, and that's it. So obviously this is a threshold moment. Obviously it's a moment full with hope, but there is something more we know about Jade since he's one of the main characters.
I grew up in France with my grandma. She died when I was 12. I had to come back to the States, live with my uncle. I had to ride on the plane by myself because there was no one to, and I didn't want to go. I mean, I didn't want to leave France. She didn't have any other family who lived there. I didn't want to leave her alone. I was crying at the airport. This nice lady bought me a soda. I told her what was wrong. She said to me, "They come with you when you go."
And this backstory, Jade's backstory, is not leaving my mind since season 1. Since this story of him being in airport and talking to this nice lady that told him that when you leave, they leave with you and you shouldn't feel guilty for leaving your grandma here in France. Why? For two main reasons. First of all, it kinda, basically begs to be used again. If you are using something that relates to time changes here, like story walking, etc., so revealing eventually who this woman was and how she was actually connected to this place and tying, I don't know, the end of the season, the end of the series to the beginning of the series, it would be incredible. But once again, it's not necessarily that's gonna happen. But the second part is that we've been talking for a while right now, and you have seen many videos from the TV show, and you can see that most of the stories that we know, they're not really elaborate. But with Jade, we really know a lot about him. His parents died in a car crash. Then he lived with his grandma in France until he was 13, and then she died and he was playing music to her, and he needed to leave and come back to United States and live with his uncle. So it's a very elaborate backstory, and it's supposed to serve some purpose, right? If you just want to tell this story for the sake of telling that Tien Chen don't feel bad for leaving your husband here because he's buried here, then why the whole car crash incident with the parents? So I used to live with my parents in France, and then I moved back to United States and I became, I don't know, American, and this is where I learned English. Learning English in the age of 12, 13, you're still gonna speak perfectly without any accent. It just feels unnecessarily developed, once again, unless there is a reason behind this story to be so developed. So hopefully this is something that's gonna actually play in the future episodes.
It's me when I was 12 years old. It's the day my grandmother died. She asked me to play for her, so I did. I played all day. She just wasn't in the room anymore. But I couldn't look at her. I just kept playing. Damn it, this isn't what I asked for! I want to remember why we're stuck here!
And I want to remind you about this moment with Jade and him screaming at the sky, "This is not what I was asking for." And it's pretty common in TV shows and movies when a character is screaming, "This is not what I was asking for." This is exactly what you were asking for. You still just don't know it yet. So maybe this backstory will play a way bigger role. Now we have, of course, the Stevens family, Boyd, Abby, and Ellis. Now, regarding Ellis, we don't know absolutely nothing about him. He's been teased as the most useless character in the TV show. Hard for me to argue with that because he's there only to basically be love interest for Fatima, and that's it. I guess the tables have turned. We are not in the 70s anymore when all the women characters were there just to be the love interest for the main guy. Here we have Ellis basically walking around the town and saying, "I'm worried about my wife." Well, he can be proactive, but he really didn't achieve anything or did anything. Still, anyway, I digress from the topic of the TV show. Let's talk about Abby. We know that she was a Marine, of course, and when she was a little girl, she used to have some kind of dreams that we can assume are connected to Fromville.
I was just thinking about this dream I had when I was a little girl.
Now, once again, what does it mean? Is she also connected somehow to this place like Tabitha? We know that Tabitha also had dreams about this place when she was a little girl, nightmares even. Or is it once again one of those cases like with Bhakta and her memory of her grandma singing her the song? Like, It's just, once again, this place has somehow reached her, but it doesn't really mean anything because this is what this place does, and that's it. I hope, of course, for the second option, because I want this TV show to be as developed and as connected as possible with every possible clue, but once again, a man can only hope, but don't hope too much unless you're willing to end up in Fromville, right?
There was this kid from Wisconsin. We used to call him Smuckers because the kid fucking loved jelly. He died in my arms. He's crying, begging. First time I ever watched someone die. Corporal Brian Kelly.
And with Boy, of course, we know that he was a soldier, he was an officer, and he was somehow a lot responsible on logistics. They used to call him Mr. Fish and Loaves, and once again, when he was driving to this place, this is his and his wife's retirement. They're finally gonna enjoy themselves, and he got the gift that he always wanted, his own boat. So once again, I don't know, if this is not a threshold moment that is filled with hope, I don't know what is, right? It's like you're finished your service. Now you can finally, you were like serving your country, you were giving your life for your country for so many years. Now you can finally live for yourself, for your own sake. Enjoy your life, enjoy your house, enjoy your boat, enjoy your son, and just, that's it. Like,
you know what they used to call me in the army, right?
Mr. Fish and
That's
Loaves.
right, that's right. They'd send me to any base to set it up, and no matter what they gave me, no matter what the resources, I would make it work. Yes, sir, that's right. Mr. Fish and Loaves.
So if there is a story that is an example of a threshold moment that's filled with hope, there is obviously Boyd's origin story. But we also have our main characters, the Matthews family. And we don't know much about Julie and her life before this place, like she had friends. I mean, who didn't? Probably we all had some kind of a friends at some point in our life. But regarding Ethan, we do know that he used to read a lot of books, like The Chrominocle, like The Adventures of the Grand Gulligog, and of course he invented the Lake of Tears for his games, so his stories that he used to play with his finger puppets. So somehow he is very connected to this place. But regarding Jim and Tabitha, we have enough information. First of all, regarding Jim, we know that when Julie was born, he had to make a decision that he's not gonna be like his father, who was a drunk. So he poured his glass of whiskey in a bar, and he looked at it and he looked at it, and he gave himself a promise that he's gonna be a better father to his family than his father used to be for him. Very similar to what happened to Henry, right? There are some parallels between those two, and I would say they're reincarnations, but once again, they're both of them alive at the same time, so the reincarnation theory doesn't work. Another thing that we know about Julie's birth is that this is where Jim actually lost his bracelet, the special bracelet that Tabitha made him from his shoelaces, and it had a small defect that made this bracelet unique, but then again, this bracelet was after that found in Fromville and then in Henry's car.
Do you remember the bracelet I made you? I made you after our first few dates. From the laces of your father's boots.
Yeah, of course I remember.
Remember you lost it at the hospital the night Julie was born. I was so afraid I ruined it, but then when I gave it to you, you said
Accidents are the best part.
I still don't feel like I got enough explanation from the creators about this bracelet. It still doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, even if you are a reincarnation and you want to make the same bracelet, what is the fucking chance that you're gonna make the same bracelet with the same defect, right? So it's way too much, and we have 3 bracelets, right? The one that was lost in the hospital, the one that was in Henry's car, the one that's Fromville. So how many bracelets are there, and why they're all with the same little defect? So yeah, maybe hopefully we're gonna get some more elaborate explanation on that, but you know, I wouldn't count on that.
So when Thomas died, something inside of me broke. And I have no idea how to fix it. I keep reliving that day. It was just such a normal day. You and Ethan were in the next room. Your dad and I were in the kitchen, and Thomas was in his changing table right between us. Then the phone rang. I reached for the diaper, and your father reached for the phone, and we just turned for 1 second. Just 1 fucking second. And he rolled off the table.
And of course, the main catalyst of the whole road trip that brought them to Fromville is that they lost their 3rd son, Thomas. He was laying on the stand and they were trying to change his diaper. Suddenly the phone rang and they both look away, and at this moment exactly, Thomas dropped down, and unfortunately he didn't survive this. And Matthew's family unfortunately wasn't able to recover from this, and this is what led to divorce. And once again, even when you do something like this is not selling your company, this is not retirement, this is not finally finishing the student loans, this is not a happy occasion. But you don't do divorce because you hope for something worse gonna come out of it, right? The only reason you would choose divorce is because you think that this bad thing is better than staying together, right? So it's just less worse than what we have right now. And maybe once again they were filled with hope that they're gonna be able to somehow move on and live their life, even with this horrible, horrific tragedy that happened to them. So even with this story, I do see a lot of hope. I obviously see a threshold moment, but there is also a lot of suffering. Like, this is a hope that comes from suffering. I don't know if I can actually extend this to every character, maybe Kenny, because, you know, suffering, his father is losing his mind, he's basically not there anymore, like only a part of him are still there. And there are still actually two stories that I didn't talk about that actually do kinda extend this notion that maybe this hope is coming from suffering. And I want to actually start, of course, with Sara.
I was with someone, but it's better that he's not around anymore. It's just me and Nathan now. He's all I've got in the world. Before we got stuck here, things weren't really very good for me. Nathan was the one who saved me. When we were kids, our stepfather would take us on these week-long camping trips. And all night long, the cicadas would buzz outside our tent. Nathan would cry the whole night.
Well, at this point, when we can already see some patterns, right, and we can already do some imagination here, and actually speculate a little bit about what actually happened with Sara, it does feel like she was in an abusive relationship. I probably think that none of you would call this as a reach. And she was saved by Nathan. I kind of even get some of a kind of a cult vibes here. Like, maybe she was not only in an abusive relationship, but she was also in some kind of a cult, that she needed to be really, really saved by Nathan, and they were escaping those people in this place. So once again, another threshold, another story with hope coming from suffering.
Next thing I remember, I was standing on a bridge holding that bottle in my hand. And it was the first time in my life that I heard the voice of God. He told me to get back in the car, that there was another path for me to follow. So I did. I got back in the car and I drove, and 2 hours later I was here.
And the last one who I want to talk about is, of course, my favorite, the most charismatic priest that I have ever seen is Father Khatri. Well, his hope for something else, he heard the voice of God, is also coming from a lot of suffering. He witnessed a little boy being murdered by a piece of shit father, and he did what I think everybody else, any normal person probably would have done in his place here in this situation. He basically broke this father into two pieces. The only thing that makes me sad is he didn't use a wood chipper in the end, and, you know, feet first, but still, he heard the voice of God, or he thinks that he heard the voice of God. Maybe it was the voice of the man in yellow, actually, telling him to get inside of the car and drive. Once again, it's a lot of suffering, threshold moment. You leave everything behind you and you move on towards the light because the God called you for a purpose. Once again, threshold, once again filled with hope, once again coming from suffering. So I would love to know what you think about all this. I do believe that this is connected somehow. I probably already disregard this and didn't put too much attention to this moment if it not for Abby's words about this place feeding on hope. But if this place really feeding on hope, and there are so many different stories when the characters almost literally tell you, I was so filled with hope and then I saw the tree, kind of makes me think that those are somehow connected. And maybe you thought about something through this backstory that I didn't think about, and I would definitely love to read it in the comments. And I thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, there is nothing else I can ask for you. I make those videos for you to enjoy them. Everything else, likes, subscribes, comments, even support on Patreon and YouTube members, it's all very, very nice. I appreciate it a lot, especially when it comes from the heart. But it's all a very nice bonus. Saying that, as usual, I want to thank everybody who supports me on Patreon and YouTube members. Your financial help is what makes this channel possible. It allows me to create, it allows me to hopefully improve, and I just appreciate it a lot. So I'm gonna see you all in the next one. Meanwhile, bye.